Dark Souls is actually not that hard. Now, before you go and start commenting, yeah, it is, just because you beat it doesn't mean it isn't hard. You are just better at games or something, I don't know. The game sucks and it's unfair anyways. Get off your high horse, you elitist. Calm down there, sit back, grab a nice glass of water, and just watch till the end of the video before you flame me in the comments, okay? Deal? Great. So when people hear Dark Souls, due to its reputation, I think people think about this game where you need to research every little detail about the game, have the reaction time of someone who's had one too many energy drinks, and just be super good at video games in general in order to beat it. And I don't think any of that is true. While I can agree the game can be difficult, frustrating, and has a learning curve, it is far from the big beast people make it out to be. But once you open your mind to playing the game differently compared to other games on the market, you can go from noob to pro very fast, just like in one of those terrible mobile game ads. So here's 7 things I think you should know before playing Dark Souls for your first time. Number 15. Number 1. Pay attention to what direction the attack is coming from. If the swing is coming from the left side and swinging to the right side, you should dodge to the enemy's left side, otherwise dodging right will likely get you hit. If an enemy is doing a thrusting type attack, do not roll backwards, you will get hit. Some thrust attacks can either be just strafed around, no rolling or anything fancy required. The hitboxes in this game are actually very well made. It's not just an invisible box, it's the actual sword or weapon that is actually hitting you. The point is, do not treat this game like you are playing some hack and slash type game where you can just dodge mindlessly through every attack with invisibility frames. This game is more methodical, and you are going to need to pay greater attention to why you are being hit by things. It's not just always, oh, I rolled too late or too early. You can still get hit by an attack, even if you were dodging on time, but you're dodging in the wrong direction. If you have trouble seeing why you're getting hit at the moment, record your gameplay and just look at the attack while you aren't actually in-game. I promise you, every attack in this game has pretty fair telegraphs or sound cues, from the first boss all the way to the final boss, with some of them having some cheap attacks, but most of them are actually really fair. So when you do get hit, it is your fault and you likely did something wrong, not any bad spaghetti code like some games. The second tip is memorization is incredibly important. Every time you roll in Dark Souls, you get a little bit of invisibility frames, but we can also reposition ourselves with it. For reference, you should be rolling when an attack is about to hit you, not right when you see the boss wind up, but also not when you have died from said hit. The only real way to get better at this is to practice and fail a few times. Some attacks I personally struggle with, despite them actually being easier attacks to dodge than other ones, but just my timing is bad for that attack. With a bit of practice, I could get that attack down easily, but if I don't practice, well, and I'm the only person to blame for that. Another thing is that it's incredibly important when you are rolling to try to prioritize a direction where you can not only avoid the attack, but also ideally dish out some damage yourself. Dodging backwards for certain attacks is required sometimes, but if possible, dodge inwards to the left or inwards to the right, depending on the swing direction, in order to put yourself in a position to do damage to the boss as well. Otherwise, you are just going to be dodging, which unfortunately doesn't reduce the boss's HP by much. So make sure to try to not only know where and when to dodge, but also if you can sneak in a hit or two during attacks. Try to balance offense and defense here, but never get greedy as you will always die for it. Another important thing about memorization of roll timings and directions is it allows you to find windows to drink Estus Flask in, which depending on what game you're playing can either be really short in animation or really long in animation. Even the later boss fights in all games will have attacks that you can actually heal in, some being harder than others or with tighter windows to heal. You will usually die in 1 to 3 hits in this game if you take a full hit, so managing your Estus and health is really important. The third tip I have for you guys is to explore. In these games there are plenty of areas you can go to, and you will naturally gravitate towards one where you feel like you can actually take on the enemies there. However, this doesn't mean that you can't do some quick sprints around the area to collect some loot real quick before probably dying. Just make sure you don't have a huge amount of souls on you before doing so. You can find Estus upgrades, weapons, useful items, new NPCs, and much more. And although this stuff may be out of your stat range or area progression at the moment, knowing it's there can help you prepare for the future and give you a better idea of what to put stats into. If things in an area hit like a truck, take 20 damage from your attacks, or just seem far too dangerous even for Dark Souls standards, you are likely not going in the best direction for your progression. For my example, I managed to find a useful weapon that I couldn't use when I first got it, but I built my character around it to use it, and it helped me a ton throughout the early game. And that if I didn't explore the other areas that I wasn't supposed to go in at the time, I would have never found that weapon. The fourth tip I have for you guys is you are going to die in boss fights very often, and when you do, unlike other games, you do not have to kill every enemy on your way to fight the boss. And because of the fog gates for boss fights, they won't be able to come into the boss arena. So if you are just needing to practice for a boss fight, and you don't really want to grind for gear or souls, just do a mad dash from your nearest bonfire, trying to avoid enemy attacks, go through the fog gate, and all those enemies you ran by will just leave you alone. That one thing alone saved me so much time and frustration. Another thing involving boss fights is if you feel like the run from a bonfire to a boss fight is like doing a mile in high school, you probably missed either A, a bonfire, B, a shortcut, or C, both. So just keep your eyes peeled, as some of these bonfires are hidden really well. My fifth tip I have for you guys is read the messages on the ground. The ones outside the tutorial are left by real players, and while sometimes they are dirty liars, like if one says to jump off a cliff, probably don't listen to that one. However, if one says something about a bonfire ahead, an amazing chest ahead, or a secret path, check it out, but with caution. Illusionary walls also exist, so if it says something about a secret, try hitting the walls near it and see if it reveals anything. Without these messages, I would have completely missed super good bonfires, great gear, and shortcuts. Number 6, level up and use your souls as often as possible. Every time you die, you will lose all the souls that you had at that moment. If you can reach your death point again, you can get your souls back, which is great. However, if you die in a boss fight with a good amount of souls, the only way of getting those souls back is to get back to the death point in the boss arena and defeat the boss to get the souls out safely. So if you see a fog gate that looks awfully close to a boss fight, maybe do a quick 180 to level up and buy gear so you don't lose like 10 levels worth of souls. Moving on to number 7, talk to NPCs, and I don't mean just buy from them or whatever, actually hit the talk button in their menu. They can give you story info, where you should go next, little hints, and sometimes even free items that you would never get otherwise. I know it sounds silly, but trust me, you won't be disappointed. And that's all I think you should know before you start your Dark Souls journey. If you are a first-time player of the series, my challenge to you is to give the game a shot until you defeat the second or third boss. If you don't like it, then feel free to drop it, no big deal. Just try not to drop it before then, as I think you may be cutting off the game a little too quickly, and you may find yourself loving it if you give it a bit more time. Thank you guys for watching.